Yeah, we're gonna be doing stuff.
This doesn't seem like a good intro.
This is a great intro. Now, before starting your oil change, you're gonna want to pick up your oil plus your oil filter. And today on this Jeep, we're gonna be using Pennzoil full synthetic. We love our full synthetic 5W20. That is what the owner's manual recommends. And then we are going to be using a Mobil 1 extended performance filter, and the number for this Jeep, which is specific to this car, is an M1-113A. Alright, you're going to want to start, hit your hood latch, pop that boy open. Hit your lever underneath, right there. Put your hood holder up, and now you move underneath.
So you're going to use a 16 millimeter on your oil plug. Get it hand loose. You'll eventually get to that point. Once you're to that point, you'll have to unloosen it by hand. Make sure your oil pan is ready. Don't want to get that all over your garage or wherever you're doing it on the floor.
And it'd be best to be advised, what we do, as you can see, there's also cardboard underneath just in case you do spill, so you don't have to clean it up on your concrete. Now, if your oil's coming out rather slow, what you can do is you're going to want to locate your oil fill cap, which this one is right here. And you can actually kind of loosen that up, and it will allow your oil to drain a little bit faster. Alright, so as we can see now, the oil is done dripping for the most part. If it drips a little bit, that's fine, but there's no major stream. So the next step is you're going to want to take your oil drain plug, which we have right here. Take some nice clean paper towel, clean it off before putting it back in. And then locate your oil pan again, right up in there. And you're going to want to do it by hand and first, just because if you do use an impact or anything else, you could potentially cross thread and mess up the threads, and that would be a nightmare. And then once you got it almost all the way down, then you can use a wrench and put it to spec torque. And then once you do have the plug installed, you can take your paper towel and clean up all around it, just to make sure that once you do put oil, if you do see oil around the plug, you may have a leak. So this kind of just ensures if it's fully clean and then you start the car and it's full of oil and there's nothing there, you're set to go. Then once you do have your drain plug installed, you are going to want to locate your oil filter, which as you can see is right in the front. There's actually a handy dandy little hole right here. As you can see right there, it's that blue filter right here, so we'll be pulling that out. And then you do want to be careful, as you see we do have the container back here, because once you do fully loosen it and it comes out, there's actually oil in there, so be prepared, you might get some on yourself. And that's why we have this bin here, otherwise you will spill it all over the ground. As you can see, it's coming out right there.
There she is.
Look at that, beautiful. Yep, you can pour all that oil right into there. Now, before installing your next filter, which we have here, there are two steps that you're going to want to do. So our very first one is when you first take off this filter here. As you can see on this filter, there's a little ring around the outside, and that's kind of your seal that makes sure oil doesn't get out. Well, you're going to want to make sure first, before putting this one on, that you have a clean surface. As you can see right up in there, it's nice, it's shiny, you don't see the other seal on there. Otherwise, or at sometimes, the seal will actually come off of this one, stay on there, and when you put these two seals together, that will cause a leak. So you want to make sure that the seal is not still stuck up on in there. Alright, so the next step is, what we do is you take a little bit of your oil and actually want to put it around the new seal. It just kind of helps lubricate it and prevents leaks. And then the second step we're going to be doing is actually filling it up with oil. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pour oil right in there. Now, some people say it's good because it prevents you from doing a dry start. That means there's oil right in the system right away. Other people don't like it because obviously you're pouring oil right in there, and if there's any dirt, it doesn't get cleaned first. So that's kind of one of those. Some people like it, some people don't, but we do like putting the oil in beforehand. And once your filter is set, you can head on back underneath. And you're gonna wanna put that on right where it came off. Now, it can be kind of a pain to put on. You're gonna wanna make sure it should slide on very easily. If it does come with a lot of resistance or kind of fighting you, try and take it off and redo it, because you will probably be messing up your threads. Like I said, this should go on very easily. But it may take a couple times, couple laps around to try and get on, but like I said, once it's threaded, it should just slide on. Alright, and then as you saw, you don't need any really special tools. We kind of just put it on hand tight. As you can see, that is your new oil filter. Next, if you do have a funnel to use, which we would recommend, what you're going to want to do is take some paper towel, kind of clean out the outside, clean the inside, because this is one of the things you want everything to be as clean as possible. Next, you're going to take your oil again, and this Jeep takes about 4.5 quarts, and that is with an empty filter, but we obviously already filled it up. I mean, it's still going to take 4.5 quarts. And when pouring this, especially if it is cooler out, which it is kind of right now, it might take a little bit longer, so you're going to want to slowly watch it. As you can see, it's going down, but if you just keep pouring it, it will overflow, so you're going to want to be careful of that. Now you're going to want to locate your engine oil dipstick, which is right here on this Jeep. You're going to want to carefully pull it out. And the first time, you're just going to take it, do a nice full clean on it that gets any oil off of it, just so you can get an accurate mark when you are trying to figure out how much oil you have put in. So you put in the hole down in there. Make sure you fully seat it. You're going to want to pull it out again. And it should read on here, as you can see. Barely can see, there's a little zone that says safe. That's where you want your oil to be, and you should see a little brown mark. The oil should come all the way up, which it looks like it's around right here on this one. You're going to want to make sure that's in the safe part, but you do want to be careful. Once it does start coming on the dipstick, it tends to fill up very quickly, so I'd advise pouring oil in rather slowly in little amounts at a time. Now you're going to repeat the process of just slowly putting oil in and checking your dipstick until you are in this safe level. Yep, so as you can see, you barely can see it. Sometimes real tough, but right where we're pointing, right there, it's about halfway in between safe, so that should be good. And once you do pull the car down and start everything up, it should kind of fill up to that safe mark. Always make sure you double check that. The best, which we're going to do next, is actually, you're going to want to make sure you start the car, but make sure you actually kind of are already in the safe zone before starting your car. And the idea is we'll start the car, we'll actually get underneath and make sure that it is not leaking from the oil filter or the oil plug. And then once we're done with that, we're going to fully pull it down from the ramps, and then that's when you really want to check to make sure that you do have enough oil, because as you can see, these ramps, we are about half foot in the air, and it does put an engine at a little bit of a tilt, so it could throw off your oil readings a little bit. So it is best, once you're fully done with everything, to put it on flat ground and then make sure final check that your oil is at a good point. Now make sure your car is in park, and then you're going to want to start up your vehicle. Just then you can build pressure in your oil system, make sure nothing is leaking. So we're going to take a quick look under here. As we can see, the oil filter looks good, nothing's leaking out of there, so that's all good. And nothing is leaking out of our drain plug, so that should be all good. We should be all set. Make sure it's fully closed, so you're going to want to check, make sure it can't come up. And as you saw, you're going to want to drop it just from a little height, otherwise it won't fully close.